and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and I'm very glad you're joining us again today. Since March of 1993, I have been on the air on community public access television here in Manhattan, in New York City, consistently every single week. And, we had a glitch here, a glitch there, technically. But in general, every single week, without fail, we have had a new show talking about subjects that are just very dear to my heart. Health and healing, the environment, spirituality, consciousness, human potential, and speaking with the sung and the unsung heroes of society, seeing their points of view. I have had spiritual teachers here from India who hardly even knew how to speak English, or who have never actually ever been on TV or in front of a video camera. I have had environmentalists, scientists, healers of all sorts. I have had well-known people such as Wayne Dyer, Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, one of the first to walk on the moon, Dan Millman, well-known for Way of a Peaceful Warrior and about a dozen other books. On and on it goes, and I've been having a ball over all of these years being of service and helping to illuminate, elevate, educate, and ultimately, hopefully, inspire people to be active participants in helping to create a better world. So in these few minutes, you're going to see a few episodes, well, just pieces of episodes that have been filmed over the course of these years, about which we are celebrating tonight.
Guru Vishnu, Gurudeva Maheshwaru, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma. Get a fixed sense of who we are, and therefore we get really exhausted, like keeping ourselves propped up into this solid
persona.
The persona. We're wearing it all the time. And you can see people wearing their masks, and they're wearing their fake grins or whatever it is, and it's sort of heavy on the face.
It's an act.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
We've all gotten so accustomed to in others and in ourselves.
Right. And we get exhausted. That's why after 12 hours of it, we can't, we're exhausted.
It was planted in February of 1997 in this entire area.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very healthy growth, very healthy tree.
Mm-hmm.
We're about half of that side. This is the new growth at the top.
How long will that take to become?
A mature trees?
Yes.
This will be a mature tree of about this size in 75 years. This size in 150 years.
Mm-hmm. And when will be the next time they decide to harvest it? It's an incredible place here. It's like a little paradise in itself, hence the name.
Yes.
And it's a great getaway from New York, huh?
That's why I did it. You're
Yeah.
listening to the macaws in the background. I have peacocks and macaws, cockatoos, cockatiels, different birds. And when you live in a very intense environment, and New York is intense, and you adapt to it. If you have a small apartment, you adapt to it. If you live in an environment where you have to be concerned about where you're walking at night, you adapt to it. Your senses adapt to it. So I wanted a place where there was no need for adaptation, where I could simply be at peace at all times, completely calm at all times. And most importantly, for myself and for people like myself who are always creating, to be able to rejuvenate.
One of the main places of focus that you've been involved in the past 20 years or so has been in dealing with shamanically sanctioned plants and bringing the wisdom of the plant world, you could say, to the foreground of our society.
The use of plant hallucinogens is particularly effective simply because it transcends ideology, it transcends ritual, it goes directly to the physical brain, and by perturbing the living brain, it perturbs consciousness. And then out of that experience, conclusions are drawn within a cultural framework. I've been very interested in hallucinogenic experience and shamanism and that sort of thing since the 60s. I think if you spend enough time looking at these things, you come to see that the shamanic metaphor, the magical metaphor, are not as fully satisfying as thinking about these things in terms of dimensionality, that actually you do go into another dimension, not in the metaphorical sense, but in a sense that a mathematician would understand. It's a...
Would you say a literal sense?
A literal sense, yeah.
And I've worked now in 100 countries and intensely in 40 cultures, and I work with the United Nations and other international agencies.
And what are you doing? What is the real interface between you and the United Nations at this
Well,
point?
what
Because I
I'm
know
doing,
you're
yeah.
underdeveloped countries.
Well, working with the United Nations Development Program, with UNICEF, and now with UN Habitat, we are training leaders in their own development in the light of social change. Now, it isn't just one-on-one, it's often great groups of leaders, as for example, we've worked in Albania, in Kenya, the delegations from Uganda and Tanzania, the Philippines, the Eastern Caribbean, Nepal, and now very recently, several months ago, with leaders from 12 Asian countries.
Need leadership in the White House by somebody who will say, I'm not here to ratchet up the imperial powers of the president. I'm here to set it straight in terms of the separation of powers. I would make it clear, and I'd make sure that Congress made it abundantly clear. The sole prerogative of deciding whether we're going to make war against another nation is for Congress. It's not for the president. There's no greater power that can be abused, and it's been abused time after time.
The truth will out some way or another.
Indeed.
But the media has erected a very strong sound barrier that has to be overcome. More powerful than any bomb or missile the Pentagon has deployed the U.S. media. They are using our airwaves. They are the public airwaves. Like, we wouldn't say if we're driving on the highway, oh, this area here is owned by AT&T. They can do what they want here, and then this is owned by Verizon. And that, no, the highways are public property.
That's right.
In the same way the public airwaves are, and they have a responsibility to include everyone's voices.
Absolutely true.